U.S. Republicans are defending a razor-thin Senate majority ahead of the high-stakes November midterms, and further threatening to destabilize the conservative legislative agenda are overlapping health emergencies. Senator Lindsey Graham, who Trump called a great friend, passed away suddenly at the age of 71 over the weekend. And the ongoing hospitalization of former leader Mitch McConnell have plunged Capitol Hill Republicans into an unexpected crisis. David Weigel is a politics reporter with Semafor and the author of Semafor's Americana newsletter. David Weigel, good to see you again, sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Two significant moments in the Senate in the last little while. The untimely passing of Senator Lindsey Graham, replaced today by his sister, but also the prolonged absence of Mitch McConnell for health reasons. How is this affecting the Republican agenda and the president's agenda in the Senate in the U.S.?
In the short term, it has not affected much of the agenda just because of the scheduling. House Republicans are trying to pass whatever they can through their budget appropriations process, which requires just 50 Republican senators and the vice president to say yes to something. They can lose 3 votes. And Graham is already being replaced by, the late senator is being replaced by his sister. So Republicans have 52 votes on the floor. McConnell being out doesn't affect the schedule that much. Now, there are committee votes, and there's going to be a committee hearing yesterday for the president's attorney general nominee, where absence can affect things. The problem he's having in the Senate is less about absence, more about people who've lost their elections don't owe him anything, or at least can't be pressured the way they used to, and are resisting some of his decisions.
Right, so people who maybe he decided to take out in a nomination because they weren't completely loyal, with this shifting math, he doesn't quite have the tight control he once had.
He has less control. The same thing is happening in the House. Republicans are looking for legislation that they can get through with very few defections, and they're being hasty. You are seeing some struggles right now with the Republican effort to pass. Again, it's called the reconciliation package. They are able to pass one bill in the fiscal year, resolution, I should say, that cannot be filibustered, does not need 60 votes in the Senate, which they do not have. And there is some static with that, not because of absence, but because the president ordered this from Republicans in Camp David. Republicans who want some role in shaping what is in that bill are frustrated, and they're saying they might vote against the rules. So very messy period for the White House to be passing something. The absences hurt some of their credibility, and there is no process, no official process for announcing if a senator is unable to work for some reason. They often don't want to admit why they are not in office. Some of them are proactive to put off speculation. They'll say, I'm going in for an operation. The mystery around what happened to McConnell is unusual. It does accentuate some ways that the administration is demanding things of Congress, and the Congress is not working on their perfect schedule.
Yeah, it's a remarkable thing that a senator has to issue like a proof of life picture in 2026, because, conspiracies that he had passed that were just flying all over the place. But Lindsey Graham, who died suddenly on Saturday night at the age of 71, I believe, he's been replaced for the rest of his term. He was slated for re-election in these midterms. His sister, Darlene Graham Nordone, is officially going to be his replacement until that election. What do we know there? Do we see her fitting in and just sort of voting with the party line? Does she have interest in running in the election in November? What do we know is going to happen there?
No indication that she wants to run for the seat herself. The president has put out feelers for Russell Fry, who's a congressman. He got elected. He helped him defeat one of the Republicans who voted to impeach him in the House after January 6 in 2021. He got that guy elected. He likes him. He would like him to run, and has hinted that he'd have the nomination. Running with the president's support is tricky, because the president can promise it to you eyeball to eyeball and then notice that somebody's beating you and endorse them instead.
Right.
That just happened in South Carolina with the race for governor. But no, Graham's sister, we don't know a lot about her politics. She does not have his relationships. He was very close. He was unmarried and very close to his sister and her kid, but probably a de facto vote for what Republicans want. I don't think the governor of South Carolina would have appointed her if she intended to go up there and start voting against judicial nominees, for example, one of Graham's priorities in the Senate.
No, and that is a good point. And she probably wouldn't want to do anything to sort of steer away from the legacy and priority of her late brother. One of the other challenges they're obviously having is disagreement over what's happening with Iran and pushback on the ongoing on-again, off-again conflict and blockades of the Strait of Hormuz. And now John Thune, he has to figure out a way to get Trump's request for $67 billion in emergency funding to help pay for it all through the legislative process. I mean, where does McConnell's absence and the other developments sort of leave his ability to do that? Because a lot of Republicans are pushing back against it.
Pushing back against parts of it, yes. It makes it tougher. Can McConnell come to the floor for a vote if necessary? Unclear. There is a record of senators who are almost incapacitated coming and putting a thumb up while being carried in by staff. That could happen if it's necessary. They know that they can't count on any Democratic votes. They've got, even when there are some there's a side of the table, there's one Democrat running for re-election in the Senate from a Trump seat. That's John Ossoff in Georgia. Does not vote for anything the administration wants. The last time he did was the Laken Riley immigration bill. There's John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, who has a lot of irritation with the left of his party, votes Republicans, but not on things like this. On Iran, he has been somewhat supportive of the war. He's in some danger, I'd say a lot of danger, for getting renominated as a Democrat. Will that factor in? They're mostly counting on Republicans for this. And at NDA, I mentioned the filibuster. You typically do need to pull along enough of the opposition party to get 60 votes. Unclear where they're going to get those things. And this administration, this president, has really preferred partisan victories over large bipartisan victories. Does not even, when he gets one, does not even bring Democrats in to share credit with them. So there's really done very little massaging of the other party to pull them in on something. And back home, any Democrat who has ambitions about running for something else, even A.B. Klobuchar, Senator from Minnesota, for example, is running for governor of Minnesota this year, leaving the Senate. It is toxic to vote for any funding for this Iran war. It's deeply unpopular in the country, more unpopular with Democratic voters. So all their impulse is to say no to whatever it is.
Yes, everything has happened in Minnesota with ICE and everything. Any kind of a vote in favor of the Trump agenda is a political self-harm for anybody who wants to be the governor there. But look, elections, state elections, midterm elections. President Trump is going to give some sort of a primetime address on Thursday night. The reporting suggests it will be really big news, is the phrase the president uses, on free and fair elections. Some reporting of new information about the 2020 election, which he claims repeatedly was stolen. What do we know about what is coming on Thursday? And are they trying to set the groundwork for some sort of a narrative with these midterms coming up and things looking tough for the Republicans?
You said what we know. Is Nicolas Maduro, who's in prison in New York, might be telling prosecutors what they want to hear. They don't have a lot of windows into that process. On the larger election picture, this is a theme running throughout these midterms, is that Democrats have litigators working around the clock against the administration's litigators to stop everything they're trying to do to change the way elections are conducted. And they got a big victory, Democrats did. Really, anyone who doesn't want the election to be slowed down got a victory in the Supreme Court when Republicans were optimistic that the court would limit mail ballots to come in after Election Day. It did not. Basically, there are more conservative and more liberal circuit courts and courts of appeals in the country, but the administration is trying to assume a federal role for election counting that does not exist in our system. And most judges, no matter how sympathetic they are to the president, are taking these sets of facts and siding with defendants, siding usually with Democratic attorneys. So will he announce, for example, could he announce, I'm freelancing, but these are things the White House discussed, changes to the mail system that will make it harder to deliver mail ballots? He could. That would be litigated. It'd be litigated very quickly. both parties, really, this is a lot of what's been going on in advance of the election, is not just campaigning. It is going to court as quickly as possible to slow things down, mostly on the Republican side. And remember, they threw out a map that would have hurt them in Virginia. They are trying to change the way that states with heavy mail voting count those votes and process those ballots. I'm not trying to be blasé about all of it when I say that Democrats know that's coming, and their eyes are pretty spinny right now, imagining what the president might say. They think it might be conspiracy theories that they don't take seriously. They take more seriously any changes to election law. They just know that they're going to have some billable hours to deal with it.
Dave Weigel, politics reporter with Semafor. Never slow days on your beat. Thanks so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.